Well, we're here today in Seminole Heights again. Somebody came down in about 1923 and built themselves a beautiful one-story bungalow here, and they did everything right, but they left out or omitted one important thing, and that was above the windows they neglected to put a metal flashover on top of the window. This is called a drip cap, and this goes on top of the head casing, and then this gets installed, and then the siding would subsequently be nailed in. They just didn't do that for whatever reason. As a result, I've had to rebuild all of the frames, and a good many of the window sashes I had to make. All of the rot that was caused was as a result of somebody just not doing this one little thing. We have a modern builder, and what they've done is closed down the openings to the point that there's no room for window weights. So instead, we've opted to use an alternative balance system. This is called a balance tube, and there's a fluted rod that retracts in and out, and depending on how many turns you tension it determines the amount of strength that the spring has. On the bottom of the sash will get mounted this little fitting which accepts the bottom of the fluted rod. It's called a T, and this is called a crow's foot. This gets mounted to the bottom of the sash with a screw. The balance tube is housed in a channel on the frame. We have to attach this with a simple 8-gauge screw. It's about 1.5 inches long. You start out with a piece of 3/4 by 4.5 inch wide. Then you have to cut channels for the sloped sill and the head jamb, and that is accomplished with setting a saw protractor at 10 degrees. In this case, I'm going to remove all of the wood between these two pencil marks just simply by making repetitive cuts. And you can watch another video that I made that explains that more in detail. Now here's a new frame, but we're using the old sashes. Here's our balance tube, and they do a pretty good job, I must admit. And I'm going to do this in reverse, and I'm going to disassemble the entire frame. And on the end of that fluted rod, there's a little hole where you can grab a hold of the thing and tension it. In this case, I think it took about 10 turns. Once you take the spring tension off, you can remove the sash. It's the same procedure for the upper sash. There's our parting stop. I'm just taking it out on one side, which allows me to remove the upper sash. And on the outside, we will begin by removing the casing. This is our exterior casing. It has a 10-degree bevel on the bottom, and I've painted the end grain so that it doesn't wick moisture up into it and cause it to rot prematurely. This is our exterior stop. We have our sill. This is held in place with some 2-inch screws, and the whole shebang just comes apart. The sash opening is measured from this point to this point. As in this case, it happens to be 38 1/4, and we're using 20-inch sashes. So the way that they overlap, it nets an opening of 38 1/4. As I said, the overall width is 4.5, and that allows us to put the 1x2 on the outside, and that produces a 5 1/4 inch opening, which is pretty standard with frame openings. Let's put it back together in reverse of what I just demonstrated. There we go. We will put our exterior stop, and that gets mounted flush with the outside here. Our exterior casing, just simply nail it together, lift it into place, and without the sashes in, square it up with a piece of plywood and either nail or screw it into place, and then you mount the sashes as the last thing. Well, that takes care of it today. We'll see you soon, I hope. Take care. It is cold here in Florida.